Our house, gone. Caitlin, dead. The town we called home my entire life is hanging on by a thread, so don't pretend you know all the answers. Carter. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, hands clasped together. Diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 4 years old, he had always been a thin child, but since the flare he'd lost another 10 pounds. Added to that, he was still shooting up and was now a good 3 inches taller than her. She suspected he would top out somewhere near 6 feet, the same height as his father. He had her hair, black with a tendency to curl, and her dark brown eyes. It was amazing how much she could see in the darkness, how well she knew her 17-year-old son. Anger and regret dripped off him. It's for me. You're doing this for me. At least let me go with you. You're staying here. This place is safe. I can help. I'm a good shot, and I can drive if you get tired or if Max has another migraine. She waited until the quietness from outside permeated the room, until the only thing left to hear was the chirp of crickets, a blackbird calling in the night, and the beat of her own heart. You make good points, but I won't risk losing you. Max and I will take care of this. We'll find a supply of insulin and bring it back, and I think that Max's parents are going to need you here. To fish? You want me to stay here and fish while you risk your life, risk Max's life. He dropped his head into his hands. Shelby stood, moved over to the couch, and sat beside him. As she'd done so many times over the years, she rubbed his back in slow, gentle circles. She waited and prayed. Carter didn't turn toward her, but his voice broke when he said, I've killed a man, maybe more than one, and I watched Caitlin die in front of my eyes. I don't want to stay here. I want to be doing something. But he must have known that his words wouldn't change her mind. Shelby understood that he was talking to himself, that he was trying to work through all that had happened and this new world they were trying to survive in. Without glancing her way, he stood and walked out of the room. 2. Max waited beside the 1984 Dodge Ram Charger, holding a thermos of coffee. The two-door SUV was a tough off-road vehicle. More importantly, it provided critical storage space, which could be accessed from inside. The paint was faded to gray, the cloth upholstery worn thin, and the odometer had turned over more than once. What mattered was that the engine still worked, in spite of the flare. There wasn't a computer chip on the beast, which made Max all the more comfortable about taking it to Austin. His watch read 6 o'clock straight up when Shelby stepped out of his grandparents' cottage and walked toward him. She wore cargo pants, which provided plenty of pocket space. They'd also be lighter and dry more quickly than jeans. A long-sleeved shirt covered a cotton tank top. Her backpack was slung over one shoulder. She wore hiking boots on her feet, and her black curls were pulled back and stuffed into a Texas Ranger's ball cap. 5'7" and thin, she was tougher and more resilient than any woman he'd ever known. The sky had lightened to a robin's egg blue, pale and soft and fragile. Carter? She asked. Max shook his head and offered her the coffee. What's in the backpack? Stuff. She sounded defensive and must have realized it. A change of clothes, a first aid kit. I didn't want to pack it in the back in case we need it quick. And my writing supplies. That's a good idea, Shelby. Someone should chronicle this. Our grandchildren will want to know how it all fell apart. And how we put it back together again. She didn't answer that. Shelby was once an optimist, but that trait seemed to have disappeared with the power grid. Your Ruger 22? Outer pocket. Loaded, and I have 1 box of extra shells. Good. They both turned to watch Max's parents, Georgia and Roy Berkman, make their way from the main